There's a moment almost every man experiences, yet very few are prepared for. Days pass, maybe weeks, sometimes even months. The silence becomes familiar. You stop checking your phone every few minutes. You begin rebuilding your routines. Your mind slowly detaches from the hope that she might come back. Then one day, without warning, her name appears on your screen. A simple message, "Hey, how have you been?" Or perhaps something longer, carefully written, almost as if nothing had ever happened. In that instant, everything inside you seems to wake up again. Questions race through your mind. Should I reply? Should I ignore her? Is this my second chance, or the beginning of the same story all over again? Most men believe this moment is about making the right move. But from a Stoic perspective, that is the wrong question. The real question is not whether she reached out. The real question is what her message awakens inside you. Because a single notification has no power on its own. It only reveals the power your emotions still hold over you. This is why two men can receive the exact same message and make completely different decisions. One replies immediately, driven by hope, loneliness, or fear of losing her again. The other pauses, not to play games, not to gain the upper hand, but because he refuses to let emotion make decisions that belong to character. As Epictetus wisely said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That is the heart of this entire conversation. This video is not about teaching you a trick to make her chase you. It is not about winning a psychological game, and it is certainly not about pretending you do not care when deep down you do. It's about something far more important. How do you know whether responding is an act of wisdom or an act of weakness? By the end of this video, you will not simply have an answer to the question, should I ignore or engage? You will have something much more valuable, a Stoic framework for making that decision with clarity, self-respect, and peace of mind, no matter who reaches out or why. Because sometimes the strongest response is a conversation, sometimes it's silence. But the wisest choice is always the one that allows you to keep your character intact. So before you decide what to do with her message, let's first understand why she sent it in the first place. Shift number 1. Why she reaches out isn't always why you think. The biggest mistake a man can make is believing that every message means the same thing. It doesn't. A single text can carry 100 different emotions and only one sentence on the screen. That is why so many men misunderstand what is happening. They read the words, but they never ask what might exist behind them. When a woman reaches out after a period of silence, the message itself is rarely the whole story. Sometimes she genuinely misses you. Sometimes she has been reflecting on what happened and wants another chance to reconnect. Sometimes she simply wonders how you're doing. But there are other possibilities that are far less romantic. She may be curious whether you've moved on. She may be looking for reassurance that she still matters in your life. She may even be reaching out because loneliness has become louder than conviction. None of these possibilities automatically make her intentions good or bad. They simply remind you of an important truth. A message is an invitation to observe, not a command to react. This is where many men lose their clarity. The moment they see her name, they stop looking at reality and start looking at their own hopes. They fill in the blanks with fantasies, imagining apologies that were never spoken, commitment that was never promised, or a future that has not yet been earned. The Stoics warned against this habit long before smartphones existed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Her message is the external event. Your interpretation is what gives it emotional weight. Instead of asking, "Why did she text me?" ask a better question. What has her behavior consistently shown me over time? One thoughtful message cannot erase months of inconsistency. Likewise, one brief message should not erase a history of honesty, respect, and genuine care. Patterns reveal character far more accurately than isolated moments ever will. That is why a Stoic man never judges a relationship by its most emotional moment. He judges it by its repeated actions. So before you decide whether to ignore her or engage with her, resist the temptation to analyze every word she wrote. Step back, look beyond the message, because what matters most is not what appeared on your screen today. It is the pattern she has been writing through her actions all along.
Shift number 2. The first mistake: letting one message control your mind. If the first shift was about understanding her intentions, this shift is about confronting something even more important: your own reaction. Because long before a man sends a reply, something else has already happened. His mind has begun writing a story. One simple notification becomes an entire future. He imagines reconciliation, closure, a fresh beginning, or another heartbreak. Within seconds, he has traveled far beyond the words she actually wrote. This is how emotion quietly takes control. Not through the message itself, but through the meaning we rush to attach it to. That is why two men can receive the exact same text and experience two completely different realities. One feels an overwhelming urgency to respond before the moment slips away. The other remains calm, not because he cares less, but because he understands that clarity should always come before action. The Stoics believed that the first battle is never with the outside world, it is with the judgments we form about it. Epictetus expressed it simply: it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Her message is just a fact. Everything else, hope, fear, excitement, anxiety, disappointment, is something your mind begins to build around that fact. This is why the strongest response is often not an immediate reply. It is a pause. Not a pause designed to make her wonder, not silence used as a tactic, but a pause that allows your emotions to settle before your character speaks. Ask yourself, am I responding because this conversation aligns with my values? Or am I responding because I cannot tolerate uncertainty? Those are two completely different motivations, even if they produce the same text message. A Stoic man understands that emotional urgency is rarely a reliable guide. Decisions made from loneliness often become regret. Decisions made from fear usually sacrifice self-respect for temporary relief. The goal is not to suppress your emotions. Stoicism has never asked us to become cold or indifferent. The goal is to recognize emotion without allowing it to become your decision maker. Because once you can observe your feelings without obeying them, something remarkable happens. You stop reacting. You start choosing. And that single shift changes everything. Now, with your emotions no longer driving the wheel, you're finally ready to understand one of the most misunderstood ideas in modern relationships. Silence, not as a strategy, but as a mirror that reveals far more than words ever can.
Shift number 3. Silence isn't a strategy, it's a mirror. Few things are more misunderstood in modern dating than silence. Some people treat it as a weapon. Others use it as a negotiation tactic, believing that if they wait long enough, the other person will become anxious, reach out again, or chase harder. That is not Stoicism. A Stoic does not use silence to manipulate another person. He uses silence to understand himself. Because silence has a remarkable way of exposing what constant communication often hides. When no messages arrive, no notifications appear, and no one is asking for your attention, you begin to see your own mind more clearly. You notice what you miss, what you fear, and what you still cling to. If every quiet moment makes you desperate to check your phone, the silence is revealing something. If you feel compelled to reply immediately simply because you're afraid she might disappear again, the silence is revealing something. And if you can remain calm, whether she reaches out or not, the silence is revealing something else entirely. In other words, silence is not testing your relationship. It is testing your inner freedom. Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free." Real courage is not found in sending the perfect text or waiting exactly 3 days before replying. It is found in facing uncertainty without abandoning your peace. This is why a period of silence can become one of the most valuable moments in any relationship. It strips away illusions and leaves only what is real. Were you building a meaningful connection, or were you becoming emotionally dependent on another person's attention? The answer often becomes obvious only when the noise disappears. Ironically, the man who fears silence the least is usually the one who handles relationships best. Not because he is detached from people, but because his sense of identity no longer depends on constant reassurance. His life continues, his purpose continues, his peace continues, whether a message arrives today, next week, or never at all. And from that place of quiet confidence, another question naturally emerges. Silence may have shown you who you are, but before you decide whether to reply, there is one more thing you must examine. Not the words she wrote, but the quality of the effort behind them. Because not every message deserves the same response, and not every attempt to reconnect deserves the same place in your life. Shift number 4. The 4 signs it's worth engaging. By now, you've resisted the urge to react. You've looked beyond the excitement of seeing her name appear on your screen. You've questioned your emotions instead of obeying them. And perhaps for the first time, you're no longer asking, "What should I text back?" You're asking a far better question. Is this conversation worth inviting back into my life? There's no universal rule that answers that question, but there are timeless principles that make the decision much clearer. The first sign is clarity. When someone genuinely wants to reconnect, they usually don't hide behind confusion. Their words may be simple, but their intention is visible. They don't send vague messages simply to see if you'll respond. They reach out because they actually have something to say. Clarity is a form of respect. It shows they value your time enough to not leave you decoding hidden meanings. The second sign is accountability. Every relationship leaves behind moments that were handled well and moments that were not. A sincere person doesn't pretend those moments never happened. They may not offer a perfect apology, but they show a willingness to acknowledge reality instead of rewriting it. Without accountability, reconnection is often nothing more than repeating the same story with different words. The third sign is consistency. One heartfelt message can stir powerful emotions, but character is never measured by a single moment. It's measured by what happens next. Do her actions continue to reflect the same care she expressed in her first message? Does she invest in rebuilding trust over time, or does the effort disappear as quickly as it appeared? Consistency is what transforms good intentions into genuine trust. The fourth sign is respect for your values. Perhaps this is the most important one of all. A healthy conversation should never require you to abandon the standards you've worked so hard to build. If reconnecting demands that you ignore past patterns, excuse repeated disrespect, or silence your own needs just to keep the peace, the cost is simply too high. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That wisdom reaches far beyond philosophy. It reminds us that every conversation is also a reflection of our character. A Stoic doesn't engage because he fears losing someone. He engages because the interaction itself is worthy of his time, his attention, and his peace of mind. And if those four qualities, clarity, accountability, consistency, and respect, are truly present, then replying is no longer an emotional gamble. It becomes a conscious choice. But what happens when those qualities are missing? That's when another kind of wisdom becomes necessary. Sometimes the strongest act of self-respect is not knowing when to speak. It's knowing when to walk away. Shift number 5. The 4 signs you should walk away. Knowing when to engage is only half of the wisdom. The other half is knowing when not to. For many men, this is the harder lesson. Not because they don't recognize the warning signs, but because hope has a way of making obvious truths seem complicated. We convince ourselves that people will change overnight, that one message erases months of disappointment, or that this time will somehow be different. A Stoic does not ignore hope. He simply refuses to let hope replace judgment. The first sign it's time to walk away is when attention becomes the goal instead of connection. Some messages are not invitations to rebuild a relationship. They are invitations to reassure someone's ego. A casual "hey" every few weeks followed by silence again. A sudden appearance whenever you begin moving on. A conversation that never grows beyond keeping your attention alive. Connection creates clarity. Attention creates dependency. A Stoic knows the difference. The second sign is when old patterns immediately return. People can change, but real change reveals itself through consistent behavior, not good intentions. If the same avoidance, mixed signals, emotional inconsistency, or lack of respect reappear almost as soon as the conversation begins, you're not witnessing a new chapter. You're reopening an old one. Wisdom means recognizing the pattern before it becomes your future again. The third sign is when peace begins to disappear. Healthy relationships may challenge you, but they should not constantly drain you. If every conversation leaves you anxious, overthinking every word, questioning your worth, or waiting for the next emotional swing, your inner balance is quietly being traded for uncertainty. That is too high a price to pay for anyone's attention. As Epictetus wisely said, no great thing is created suddenly. The same is true of trust. It is built slowly through stability, honesty, and mutual respect, not through emotional highs followed by repeated disappointment. The fourth sign is when staying requires you to betray yourself. This is the clearest sign of all. If reconnecting means lowering your standards, accepting behavior you once promised yourself you would never tolerate, or becoming someone driven by fear instead of self-respect, then the real loss is no longer the relationship. The real loss is your character, and that is never a price worth paying. Walking away is often misunderstood as rejection. In truth, it is an act of alignment. You are choosing peace over confusion, clarity over fantasy, self-respect over temporary comfort. Ironically, this is the moment when the title of this video finally answers itself. The question was never simply whether you should ignore or engage. The real question has always been which choice allows you to remain the same man regardless of who reaches out. That is the answer Stoicism has pointed toward from the very beginning, and it is also where our final reflection begins.
Final reflection. The Stoic answer. By now, you may have noticed something unexpected. This was never really a video about her message. It was a video about your mind. When her name appeared on your screen, it probably felt as though the decision belonged to her, as if she had reopened a door that only she could close. But Stoicism invites you to see the moment differently. The text is not the event that defines you, your response is. Not the words you type, the reason behind them. There will always be people who leave and return, people who are sincere, people who are confused, people who want another chance, and people who simply want to know they still have access to your attention. You cannot control which one reaches out, but you can always control the standards by which you choose to respond. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Those words offer the clearest answer to the question we began with. Should you ignore her? Sometimes. Should you engage? Sometimes. Stoicism was never meant to give the same answer to every situation. It teaches something far more valuable. It teaches you how to become the kind of person who can make the right decision without being ruled by fear, loneliness, resentment, or pride. So the next time your phone lights up with a message you never expected to receive, don't rush to ask, "What does she want?" Pause for a moment and ask a different question. Which response reflects the man I have worked so hard to become? If a conversation can happen without sacrificing your peace, your values, or your self-respect, then answer with honesty and confidence. If it cannot, let silence speak, not as punishment, not as manipulation, but as a quiet expression of inner freedom. And perhaps that's the quiet paradox of Stoicism. The more you stop asking how to control other people's choices, the more capable you become of mastering your own. Thank you for watching Stoic Wisdom today. If this video helped you see this situation from a different perspective, I invite you to continue this journey with us. Subscribe to our channel, where we explore timeless Stoic principles for modern life, relationships, and the quiet strength that never goes out of style. And if you've ever faced the question, should I ignore or engage? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience may be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And remember, your greatest power has never been the ability to control who comes back. It has always been the ability to remain true to yourself when they do. Until next time, stay calm, stay grounded, stay stoic.